Today is August the 6th, the Feast of the Transfiguration, and I want to read a poem composed for the Transfiguration from my new book of poetry. I am Christopher Lewis. This is The Fading Map of an Endless Summer Sky, available now from Amazon and soon at anaphrapress.com. I live in Port Townsend, Washington, a very picturesque artist's town on the tip of the Olympic Peninsula. And this poetry features local landscapes, arranging poems like paintings in an art gallery. This one was written at Fort Worden, built to guard the entrance of Puget Sound at the inland end of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. The old cannon placements built before the World Wars provide now stunning overviews of the waters at the northwest end of the continental United States. This is Lookout at Fort Worden on the Feast of the Transfiguration. If the poet stands on the cannon placements, cascades written along the skyline, gazing into their ice-crowned names, a moment gone already, as soon as it seemed it could never end. If he sends up his observation balloon, triangulated in the minds of invisible powers by the inward-searching bluffs over Fort Worden, if he stands on the edge of waters, dividing the continents either side of Juan de Fuca, gliding by like eons of melted ice sketched into the sediments of distant shorelines, if he shouts into this wind, he hears how small he is. His words are grains of sand under the lighthouse, and yet, inside them, all heaven and earth are hunting intelligent prey. Ink on kite paper freed from the string that sent them up. Words turn over in the disappearing heights into the great creative rhythms folded into the watery roots of the mountains. In ultramarine reflections, blue beyond the sea where earthquake hides. Green kelp shallows where the tides boil in from 3 parts of the sky. 1,200 glaciers open their windows. The sun comes down to his throne at the western gate. The sun comes out in their faces, in the upper battlements of Rainier, in the smoke rising from St. Helena, a light that has not been seen before. The one who stood on their summits when the waters fled, when his feet were in the waves, when he left his sandal marks on the wave crests, when his ankles bled into the evergreens. In one severely tilted escarpment walled in winters, near the pass where wild knotted tresses of waterfalls begin, he hid his countenance until all the poets, like feathers in his fingers dipped in light, engrave their ecstasies on pieces broken off of the summit, and the mountains themselves remember those mighty contemplations in which they were formed. We don't even know how he found the hard road, distorted longitudes in the cross tides, slept on the streets of such cities as those, mapped more than one wilderness, climbed waterfalls to struggle up to the peaks from which those heroes in the constellations began their climb beyond the eroding millennia. Most of the poems in this collection are word paintings, but I was also intrigued by the possibility of movements of thought arranged like musical compositions. And listening to classical orchestrations, I started to think of this, and not only puzzling over the compositions, but also carried away by the shifts in movement and melody, and trying to hear what the notes are speaking in this universal language of music. And so I wanted to try my hand in experimental layering of musical phrases. And so this is one of those. This is Summer Rain Concerto. Prelude. Black poplars musing in orchestral half-circle where a pond used to live, gloved fingers reaching, bending to brush the harp-strung clouds, reforming as they climb from beyond the barn in which the owl sleeps, and one draping hemlock, severely asymmetrical, crows raiding its ancient twisting tower. How long since I entered conversation with you? Spreading your broad loom of thoughts and shadows, leaves turning to pluck a breeze from the ribs of passing sky, you waited, tuning harpsichord keys in the lofty branches where every note is a window, birds amazed with their own questions, and the clouds stretch out their white and turquoise wings that gulls beneath them rise up to imitate. Fragments of the wind. Soft discussion in the aging cottonwoods, in speech and silence, phrases what it has seen in the ocean and across the water from the scarred bluffs of the island. And mountains farthest horizon, age of the melting ice at the edge of the waves, convocation of the gulls on the sandbar with the tide stretch back, like old men in the shade, talking of years long past, now that I am one of them. One thought. Rarely visiting at the heart of existence, where the poet appears, I have been waiting for on an open porch, watching the white-bellied swallows with black wings aflash in the lower light, light and shadow turning in on themselves. They float to my window screen and chatter to be allowed in, to nest upon my meditations. Passing into the heat, on my way to the shelter of a few oaks, impressionistic remains of a birthday celebration, blankets abandoned on the ground, and the last echoes of young parents and watercolor conversation. Chickens gather the shadows with their soft invocations. The rooster, they chuckle, remembers. Sunrise again, recall the surprise of his own formation. Feathers unfolding, vibrant hues of fire out of a voice commanding him to speak and to procreate. But we know the rooster is crazy. In the middle of a few slow considerations, suddenly stands within me a momentary flash, eluding before I could seize it, illuminating the superior existence I did not know was in me. Let's go walk into the light. A clear stream of summer morning sky, the sun a whole moving sphere of expanding heavens, diamond cut across the exalted months, nowhere in mind, but keep going, further exchanging speech with deciduous antiquities as I pass among them, with all their differing forms and statures, masters of contemplation in the roots with years as long as my own. They walk with me beyond all thought, among wonders we cannot see. And redwoods over the river, taller children of the elder race. The rose hedge has lost its bloom and its fragrance, but there is a trail to the other side of the sky, where thought climbs past the leading fence lines. A mountainside over the ocean, shadows like sentinels among the boulders, oak groves chained in morning gloom, then distant angles of illumination, changing its clothes on the hillside, writing the mysteries of light in the ancient branches, a suggestion only of what you desire to paint in me. Rain on the summer solstice. Its hands like mine, down in the garden dirt playing soft piano. Sunset whispers for a long time around the last long shadows, celebrating gradual fireworks throughout the plated cumulus. Concerto movements of rain open their curtain on the southeast hill. A rainbow almost as tall as the sky, rare perfect window where the flame-colored moon rises saturated in skies still floating their pale blue brocades. Light settling to become tangible before it fades. You can taste it as the sun goes down, ripe as melon, sticky atmospheres squeezed out, citrus juices on the grass and buildings. Sink in hanging layers of cloud, like banjo chords in the west, falling into silence. Cirrus violin bows high, the fluted puffs of darker cumulus lined up, ghosts of ground fog in the forest. Where does the sun go on a midsummer night? There is still light in one quarter of horizon until late. The woods to the north remain in inebriated glow, through half the night until at last darkness remembers the tall cedars and slow clouds that measure the length of the night. Behind a cloud the moon changes into her white dress, moves through forest of low clouds, branches and glowing leaf clusters of low cloud, showing that it will be a night of magic. One thought on the long drive, deeper, deeper. Long, straight highway into the heart. Open sky with occasional lightning far off over the ocean. Explosions of divinity. The Virgin reaches out in the unmeasured heights, touches one string of the lyre with trembling light and candle feathers. The eagle climbs, turning thermals in the star belt. Jupiter finds deep space above the tallest hemlock in the center of the summer triangle to undress her bridesmaid moons and spin them out in tilted dance.